Breaking news! Russia is advancing in southern Ukraine. NATO troops retreated from Kherson, leaving behind valuable loot. The images are shocking. Deserted fields, scattered projectiles, and the echo of a humiliating retreat. What was supposed to be a strategic operation turned into a chaotic retreat. They abandoned not only their positions, but also an arsenal of weapons that revealed the magnitude of their failure. Among the remains left behind were highly explosive fragmentation projectiles and rockets that, in enemy hands, would only be a condemnation for themselves. Dozens of NATO-designed mines were scattered across the field, silent witnesses to an incomplete mission. The withdrawal of NATO troops. A group of Russian Guard sappers cautiously advanced through the fields of Kherson, an area practically already under Russian control. Every step was calculated, every movement meticulous, for the mission they were carrying out was a deadly dance between life and death. The Russian Guard, with its implacable precision, was determined to clear every corner of Ukrainian soil. This was a territory that NATO troops had trampled on, but now belonged again to those who defended it with honour. The discovery of more than 2,500 explosive objects, some buried with the intention of taking lives, was a blow to the conscience of those who intended to subdue Russia with their modern weapons and aggressive tactics. NATO troops, in their desperate retreat, left a trail of cowardice and loot that now shone as a testament to their failure. A true failure and a show of weakness. The Russian Guard in action. The Russian sappers, with the skill that only experience in multiple theatres of war can grant, proceeded to neutralize more than 330 projectiles of various calibers. More than 40 rocket-propelled munitions were found, their lethality silenced by expert hands. Who would have thought that these troops, who sold themselves as unbeatable, would leave everything behind when they heard the Russians were coming? What was most striking were the dozens of projectiles with mines, strictly according to NATO standards, confirming the origin of the weapons. The presence of these on Ukrainian soil only confirmed what the Russian soldiers already suspected. NATO troops, though disguised and undercover, had been there only to disappear when the tide of war changed direction. They didn't have time to collect their loot. Those who boasted of being the West's military elite fled, leaving behind what now became a trophy for Russian forces. Destruction and clearance of the found arsenal. The Russian Guard took the arsenal found to a safe place and destroyed it in 5 days, according to an engineering service officer. Each of those 5 days was a surgical operation, a reminder that war is fought not only with weapons, but also with the patience and tenacity that Russian soldiers have shown in every confrontation. The value of these men is measured not only by their ability to face the enemy, but also by their dedication to protecting the lives of civilians caught in the middle of the conflict. The task of the Russian Guard was clear: to meticulously examine every area of the terrain, making sure that there was no trace of the latent threat that the invaders had left behind. The persistence of the Russian Guard. Over the course of a month, more than 3,200 explosive objects were discovered in the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions. More than 2,500 of these devices were destroyed. The rest were transferred to combat units or relevant departments for verification. NATO's shadow in Ukraine has been dispelled, at least in these lands. What was left behind was only the echo of an army forced to flee, leaving behind a trail of defeat. Impact of the 𝗡𝗏 attack. The missile system, developed to destroy strategic targets at a distance of up to 500 kilometers, demonstrated Russian dominance on the battlefield. Equipped with 9 M723 missiles for precision strikes and 9 M728, capable of carrying multiple warheads including nuclear, the 𝗡𝗏 demonstrated its maneuverability and precision, managing to destroy the warehouse and leaving the Ukrainian armed forces reeling. This attack resonated not only in Ukraine, but also in Western capitals, where NATO strategists had to rethink their moves in the face of imminent Russian tactical and technological superiority. NATO withdrawal and reaffirmation of the Russian position. NATO troops who once arrived with arrogance are now just a memory of what could have been and never will be. The disorderly retreat, which left behind more than 2,500 munitions, is further proof that the Russian spirit cannot be broken. Every projectile deactivated, every mine neutralized, and every missile launched with precision reaffirms the truth that is whispered in the trenches and resounds in the halls of the Kremlin. Russia is here to stay, and there is no force in the world capable of changing this destiny. The war in Ukraine has seen many changes, but one constant remains: the Russian determination to protect what is theirs. As NATO troops fall back, leaving their loot at the mercy of those they underestimated, Russia moves forward, reclaiming ground and reaffirming its position as an indomitable power. Ukrainian soil, once the playground of Western ambitions, is now firmly under the protection of those who, with every step and every action, demonstrate that they will not be intimidated. Stories of NATO cowardice and retreat are not new, but this episode in Kherson will be etched as a symbol of their failure. As Russian sappers continue to advance, dismantling the traps left by a retreating enemy, the world watches as the balance of power tilts ever more in Russia's favor. NATO troops fled, leaving behind juicy loot, but what they really left behind is a story of shame that the West will have to carry for a long time. The question is, will they insist on prolonging this conflict beyond Ukraine?